The night before the wedding, the night before the wedding, the night before the wedding, I won 5 million in the night before the wedding, I won 5 million in the lottery and spent all my savings to cure my boyfriend's cancer. After he recovered, he turned around and pursued his first love. He said, having faced life and death, I've realized she's the only one I truly love. I desperately tried to win him back, only to be humiliated by them. With no other choice, I could only take a taxi home. Who would have thought that after a car accident, I would actually be reborn on the very night before I won the lottery. Your bank account has received 5 million. Only when I saw this text message did I finally feel a sense of reality. Yes, I was reborn following the trend. And just in time, the day before winning the lottery. This time, I quietly tucked away the lottery ticket without telling him about my windfall. Without Simon by my side, I secretly went to claim the prize alone. As the saying goes, make a fortune silently. Never let others know you have money, not even your closest relatives or friends. They'll only grow envious, finding every excuse to borrow from you. In my past life, the moment I learned I'd won, I eagerly ran to tell Simon. He excitedly cupped my face and planted 3 fervent kisses on my cheeks, nearly screaming in ecstasy, "Darling, you're so lucky. You're truly the lucky star of our family." We originally planned to use the prize money to buy a house, a car, and then get married. But unexpectedly, the day before our wedding, Simon was diagnosed with cancer. Without hesitation, I took out the winnings to ensure he could focus on treatment. After his recovery, he immediately turned to pursue his first love. He said, after facing life and death, I finally realized she's the only one I truly love. I stubbornly tried to win him back, only to be humiliated by them both. In the end, I lost everything, both love and money, and even paid with my life. Now that I have money, screw that jerk. First, I'll go shopping and treat myself to a good meal. At ABS Mall, I'm enjoying my food. Then I spotted my boyfriend Simon sitting at the next table with his white moonlight Wendy, just a screen partition away, their backs turned to me. I didn't greet them, nor did I make a scene. In my past life, when Simon introduced Wendy as his colleague, I never suspected a thing. After all, they did work at the same company. Only later did I learn she was Simon's first love, his eternal white moonlight. Simon handed the menu over. Wendy casually ordered a few dishes, just these, it's enough for the 2 of us. After glancing through it, Simon added, don't you like fish soup? Let's order 1 more soup. Having been with Simon for so long, he never remembered what I liked to eat, nor did he give gifts during holidays. Yet he remembered Wendy's preferences crystal clear. Back then, I even comforted myself, thinking this was what a down-to-earth man was like. Looking back now, I was such a love fool. It's really not worth all the effort I put in before. I thought breaking up and staying away would be enough, but now I've changed my mind. Walking over with a surprised look, I said, Simon, what a coincidence. Seeing me, Simon went from flustered to nervous before finally calming down. Nora, what are you doing here? Don't you have work today? I'm off today, planning to buy some gifts for my parents and yours. By the way, why are you eating here too? Oh, this is my colleague Wendy. She just met a client nearby, so we decided to have lunch here together. Simon looked completely composed. Had I not lived through a past life, I might have believed him. Who would have guessed he still had a white moonlight asterisk in his heart? Asterisk, Chinese idiom referring to an unattainable love or idealized person. Wendy, nice to meet you. I'm Nora. You're welcome to attend mine and Simon's wedding celebration. I smiled at Wendy. She froze momentarily before glancing at Simon. I still wanted to say something, but Simon interrupted me. All right, we can talk about it once the date is confirmed. Take this, I still have work to do and can't keep you company. Just buy whatever you think we're missing. No time to accompany me, but plenty of time for his little mistress. Mission accomplished, whoever he's with, I don't care. I'll dump him sooner or later. With that, I took the bank card and left. If I didn't make Simon bleed a little, it'd be a waste of all the money I spent on him in my past life. The moment I got the card, I went on a shopping spree. Luxury clothes? Buy. And one set each for my parents too. High-end skincare products, buy 2 sets, one for my mom, one for me. Gold jewelry, buy, one for my mom, one for me. My dad's favorite coffee, buy. My dad's favorite wine, buy. Carrying everything home. Mom, Dad, I'm back. My mom came over to help me carry the things I was holding, while continuously lecturing me, no need to buy so much stuff just for coming home. You should save your money properly. After you marry Simon, there'll be many expenses. Your dad and I don't lack anything, just take good care of yourself. Listening to my mom's nagging, I suddenly felt overwhelmed with emotion and started crying in her arms. What's wrong, my dear? What happened? My mom raised both hands slightly at a loss, then slowly patted my back, trying to calm me down. After a long pause, I said, I'm fine, just a bit excited. Mom, I won 5 million. My mom replied, that's good, as long as you're okay. Your dad made dinner, come eat. As she spoke, she pulled me toward the dining table, then suddenly turned around with a look of astonishment. What did you say? You won 5 million? I nodded solemnly, confirming it. My parents were overjoyed, grinning from ear to ear, and reminded me not to reveal my fortune to anyone, including Simon, who was about to get married. I didn't confess to them, I never intended to marry Simon. Simon only wanted to marry me because he thought my looks, family background, and personality were suitable. Simon and I met through mutual friends. At the time, I just thought he was decent looking, had a stable job, was somewhat reserved but caring, and seemed like someone you could settle down with. Having no prior dating experience, I found myself quite taken with him as we spent time together. I always assumed that all relationships were like ours, mostly restrained. With emotions kept under wraps. Peaceful, without arguments. Little did I know, that restraint simply meant he wasn't the right one. After dinner, I went back to the rental apartment I shared with Simon. As soon as I entered, I saw Simon sitting on the couch with a dark expression. Before I could even put my bag down, I heard him start yelling angrily. Nora, what did you do today? My card was swiped for tens of thousands, and my phone hasn't stopped buzzing with notifications all afternoon. I didn't do much, just bought a few clothes for my parents and some nutritional supplements for them to eat. Look, I even got some for your parents too. We're about to get married, what's the big deal about spending a little money? Is it really worth getting so upset? I pinched my thigh and looked at him with teary, innocent eyes. Besides, it's not just for myself. I also want my parents to think well of their son-in-law, to see him as filial. Later, when we buy a house, we can ask my parents to chip in a little, and then we'll have enough for the down payment. I'm doing all this for our little family. It's not like I'm wasting the money. Why are you being so harsh? As she spoke, she pretended to be hurt, wiping away imaginary tears before storming into the bedroom and slamming the door shut. I sneered, Simon, this is just the beginning. In my past life, even though Simon's salary card was in my hands, he constantly brainwashed and manipulated me. He claimed his money needed to be saved for buying a house and a car. I used my money for living expenses, and I always believed that women should be financially independent too. So my income was decent, and I mostly covered our daily expenses with my own money. He knew I was saving all his money, so he felt comfortable handing his card over to me. It also gave him an excuse for holidays. He'd say his salary card was with me anyway, so I could buy whatever I wanted, and he didn't need to give gifts. Looking back now, it was pretty foolish. Why did I save that money for him? This time, I won't make that mistake again. The next day, I opened the door. Simon stood there, looking apologetic. Nora, I'm sorry about yesterday, I was too harsh. Please don't be angry. I ignored him and went into the kitchen to make breakfast just for myself. Simon stood there, thinking for a long time about how to approach me, because I had never thrown a tantrum at him before. Most of the time, it was me who coaxed him. Suddenly, he clutched his stomach, leaned on the sofa, his face turned pale, and veins bulged on his neck. Unlike before, I didn't rush to care for him immediately. I watched him writhing in pain, even hoping secretly that he would suffer a little longer. I waited until he couldn't bear it anymore and called out, "Honey, my stomach hurts so bad, call an ambulance for me." Feigning panic, I put on an act and asked, "Simon, what's wrong? Where does it hurt?" "Here, take some medicine quickly." I gave him 5 or 6 painkillers, helped him to bed to rest, and didn't mention going to the hospital at all. I wondered when his illness would be discovered. In the previous life, Simon was able to survive cancer and recover only because I insisted he go to the hospital for a checkup. His cancer was detected at an early stage, and later, because I won the lottery. I had money and didn't hesitate to use the best medications for his treatment. At the same time, I took meticulous care of him. I wouldn't say I was 100% responsible for his recovery, but I was at least 80% of the reason he got better. This time, who cares about such trivial matters? After the bank card was taken away, I often visited my parents' home during this period, occasionally sending expensive gifts to both sets of parents. I just forwarded the payment links to Simon and had him pay for them, using their son's money but under my name, while they praised me for being filial. They said Simon was lucky to marry me, that having me as their daughter-in-law was their blessing. I just smiled and didn't respond. In my past life, his money was saved for buying a house, while mine covered daily expenses. The gifts I bought for his parents were never expensive, and they never called me filial or kind, just stingy and petty. Since it's not my money being spent now, of course I don't feel any pain, so naturally I'll give the best gifts. But not a single cent of my own money can be touched. I just want to take back what Simon owes me. Several times I saw messages Wendy sent him. He thought I didn't know, always hiding his phone from me. That day, both sets of parents met to discuss wedding details. My mom said, "Simon, our only requirement is that you have a proper home for marriage. We don't want Nora living in a rented place with you." My dad said, "Yes, getting married definitely requires a marital home. And Nora's name must be added to the property deed." Simon's parents looked somewhat troubled and remained silent for a long time. Simon's father finally said, "We understand that as parents giving away your daughter, you don't want Nora to suffer. To be honest, with housing prices so high these days, we simply can't come up with enough money to buy a house before marriage." I whispered to Simon, "Simon, just agree for now. Later we can say we bought a pre-sale property that won't be delivered until later. Remember we're still short by several $100,000 for the down payment? My parents told me they'll give me $500,000 as my dowry when the time comes." Simon's face lit up with wild joy as he exclaimed excitedly, "Really? Of course, why would I lie to you? I'm my parents' only daughter. After we get married, we'll have enough for the down payment, and we can put both our names on the property deed. It'll be our shared marital asset." I put on an expression of being hopelessly in love with him, appearing to consider everything for his sake. "Uncle, Auntie, I know you care deeply about Nora, and I love Nora too. I'll make sure our wedding home is properly prepared." Simon's mother tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "Where would you get that kind of money to buy a house?" "Don't worry, Mom, I have a plan. I'll talk to you about it later in private." Simon kept buttering up my parents until dinner ended. During this period, aside from working hard, I occasionally brought food and drinks to Simon's parents. Then I set up their phones to automatically push news like premarital assets becoming marital property, division of marital assets after divorce, houses being split 50-50 in divorce, and how to buy property without listing the wife's name. I even hired some extras to sit near Simon's parents during their daily park walks, casually discussing some newly launched pre-sale properties from a real estate developer. The prospects are good, housing prices are currently at a low, the location is excellent, and prices may rise later. To boost credibility and authenticity, they even pretended to mention that their son and daughter had just bought properties there. For a long time I never saw any indication that Simon was considering buying a house. I almost thought they'd given up, until I came across his chat history with his parents. Simon and his parents plotted it out. First, they'd look at properties, then purchase one under his parents' names. Simon would transfer money to them to cover the monthly mortgage payments. Currently short on the down payment, they discussed borrowing from relatives and friends to make up the difference. The plan was that after I married Simon, my 500,000 yuan dowry would be used to repay their debts. If Simon and I can't make it work and end up divorcing, the house would still belong to his family. Whoever marries into this family is doomed. I almost feel sorry for Wendy myself. But why am I so happy they're scheming against me? That day, I had a meeting with a client at a nearby cafe to discuss some design proposals. That's when I spotted Simon and Wendy coming out of the adjacent real estate office. That bastard Simon, what a calculating piece of work. I walked up to them with a bright smile, not bothering to hide anything, and cut straight to the point. Simon, Wendy, what brings you two out of a real estate office? Simon looked at me with an expression that was somewhat ugly, somewhat nervous, and somewhat fearful. Nora, Simon asked me to come over. He said he wanted to buy a house and wanted me to take a look, give some opinions, and offer some suggestions. Wendy looked at me with a haughty and contemptuous expression, yet her words were gentle and soft. Wendy, don't you know how to avoid suspicion, or do you just like married men and enjoy being the other woman? I looked at Wendy with a hint of sarcasm and spoke deliberately. Simon, you tell her. Nora, I thought you were busy with work, so I figured I'd take a look first and call you to join me when I found something suitable. I'm sorry. Simon put on an expression of concern for me, took a couple of deep breaths, and silently told himself to stay calm. In the end, I went home with Simon. Simon was originally going to take Wendy home, but he hesitated when he saw me and asked for my opinion. I said there's another profession in the world called a taxi driver. Wendy stamped her feet in anger and stormed off. On the way home, I didn't ask him about his relationship with Wendy. He let out a huge sigh of relief. I talked to him about buying a house, mentioning that several upcoming developments by H Real Estate looked promising. Presale properties are cheaper than ready-to-move-in ones, and with future urban planning, the prices are bound to rise. I even gave examples of a few neighborhoods where presale prices used to be a few thousand per square meter but have now risen to 20,000. Simon nodded as he drove, indicating he understood. During this time, I told Simon I was going on a 3-month business trip, but in reality, it was for a promotion training program at the headquarters. Many people might think that winning 5 million would mean immediately quitting their job to travel, then going on a shopping spree. Perhaps it's due to regrets from my past life. Back then, to take better care of Simon, I gave up this opportunity for advancement and devoted myself entirely to looking after him, only to end up losing everything. Or maybe it's because, in my past life, I nearly went bankrupt trying to pay for Simon's medical treatment. Suddenly, 4 million doesn't seem like much at all. This time I definitely won't give up the chance to better myself for such a worthless man. Only by becoming stronger can I be my parents' most reliable support. Originally, Simon wanted to buy a ready-to-move-in apartment, but the price was higher. The total cost was 3 million, with a down payment of 900,000 and a 30-year mortgage requiring over 4 million in repayments, costing more than 10,000 per month. But his parents thought the price was too high. After paying the mortgage each month, there'd be nothing left of his salary. At the same time, the money borrowed from relatives and friends wasn't enough either. So they had Simon buy an off-plan property from H Real Estate, the kind where only the front gate had just been built. The total cost was 2 million, with a down payment of 600,000 and monthly payments of just over 7,000. Though this was a trap I set for Simon and his family, I was certain they'd fall right into it. This family was both greedy and foolish. I cut my business trip short and came home early. As soon as I entered, I saw women's high heels, lingerie, and skirts scattered carelessly on the floor. The bedroom door was half open. That dog of a man really gave me a big surprise. Don't rush, don't panic. First, get into the mindset of collecting evidence. I picked up my phone and started recording. Then I barged into the bedroom and threw a cup of water on each of their faces. While Simon was still disoriented, I grabbed something and started whipping him, all the while muttering, "Simon, you heartless jerk, we're not even married yet, and you're already fooling around at home. Cheating, and even bringing her here. You bastard, how could you do this to me? I've been working so hard so we could buy a house sooner, how could you do this to me? Ah, Nora, you're insane. Stop it right now," Simon yelled while dodging my lashes. After snapping back to reality, he forcibly snatched my weapon away. Wendy swallowed nervously, clutching the blanket in fear, both to avoid exposing herself and to shield herself from my strikes. "Simon, you scumbag, we're over. It's finished. Nora, I was wrong. It was this wretched woman who seduced me. It's all her fault." Simon grabbed me and started explaining in a panic. To him, I was a walking $500,000 prize. There was no way he'd let that slip through his fingers. Wendy flew into a rage upon hearing this and slapped him twice across the face. "Simon, you coward. You scumbag. You utter bastard. I never want to see you again. Get lost." I spat on the ground in disgust as I walked away with my bag. What horrible luck. I immediately packed my things and went back to my parents' house. When I told them about Simon cheating with Wendy, they called his parents that very day to call off the engagement. I heard they beat Simon up badly in the end, forcing him to come and apologize to me. They hoped I could forgive Simon and let bygones be bygones. They even said it was just a mistake any man could make. I was utterly disgusted. "Simon, doesn't your family care about face?" I directly posted the recorded video in the family group chat, making sure all his aunts, uncles, and relatives knew about it. Simon always seemed so refined, who knew he'd play around like this, replied one of his uncles in the group. "Tom, you mustn't follow your cousin's example. You should be devoted to your wife, not keep one eye on the pot while eating from the bowl," Simon's aunt mocked. Later, I heard from a neighbor that because of that infidelity video, Simon's promotion fell through. Apparently, some relative had shared it in their friend group chat. His boss's wife saw it, and after some pillow talk, things took a turn. His career stumbled, his family life became strained. Eventually, Simon collapsed at work and was rushed to the hospital by colleagues. Only then did he learn he had a malignant tumor, already large in size and showing signs of metastasis. The doctor said that if it had been detected earlier, the chances of a cure would have been very high, but now the probability of recovery is less than half. Now, hospitalization plus surgery would cost over $1 million, and the subsequent careful nursing as well as relapse prevention would also require a huge sum. Simon's mother was wailing in the hospital, kneeling before the doctor. She begged, "Doctor, please, you must save my son. He's still so young, with so many years ahead of him. If he's gone, what will his father and I do?" The doctor could only offer comfort, telling them to stay positive. After breaking up with Simon, I not only got a promotion and a raise but also made new friends. On my way home from working late one night, I realized someone was following me. Just as I was about to be dragged into a dark alley, I screamed help, and Henry, who happened to be passing by, came running and scared the attacker away. Thank you," I repeated frantically, barely holding back my tears. Henry draped his coat over my shoulders and asked uncertainly, "Are you Nora?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I stared at him, my mind too frazzled to recognize who he was. He smiled and introduced himself. "I'm Henry, the slightly chubby guy who wore glasses and sat behind you in high school. Now I remember. You've changed quite a bit, I didn't recognize you, sorry." After calming down, I said, "Thank you for today, old classmate. Let me treat you to late-night snacks as thanks." "Sounds good." As we chatted about our experiences over the years, I learned Henry got into University B, then studied abroad, and had just returned to take over the family business. Hearing about his journey, I kept exclaiming wow in admiration. Later we exchanged contact information. We started frequently sharing what we ate each day, where new restaurants opened, and recommendations for good food and fun places. Simon had developed a malignant tumor and needed money for treatment, so he planned to sell his off-plan property from H Real Estate. But before he could even list it, news broke that H Real Estate had gone bankrupt. Every day, crowds of people gathered outside H Real Estate demanding their money back, let alone those who had invested in unbuilt properties. Tens of thousands of units were suddenly tied up, and people still had to pay their mortgages every month. This was why I had laid the groundwork for so long. In my previous life, I knew the company would collapse. I wanted Simon to be left without money for treatment, forcing him to slowly face the approach of death. Simon had originally intended to be hospitalized, but with no money to cover the fees, he was turned away. He had no choice but to rest at home, hoping to start treatment once he got the money from the sale. In my past life, Simon lived in a VIP private ward, the kind with a living room and kitchen. It was all paid for by me, he never had to worry about medical bills. During that time, he was so tender and caring, full of sweet nothings. Drink more warm water today, or it's getting colder tomorrow, remember to bundle up. Make sure to eat more, you've lost weight again. It breaks my heart. I shouldn't burden you. I don't want to keep treating it, not if it means draining your family's fortune for nothing. Looking back now, I was so stupid, he just talked the talk. When Simon heard the news, he was so furious it made him physically sick. He even blamed his parents. If we'd listened to him and bought a ready-made home, this wouldn't have happened. We tried to save money, got greedy for a bargain, and now we've lost the house. How am I supposed to pay for my treatment without money? Selfish people always think of themselves first in the end. After relatives found out, they all came knocking to collect their debts. When are you going to pay back what you owe? You promised 2 months, and now it's been almost half a year. Right, when will you repay the money? If you don't, we're not leaving. You'll have to feed and entertain us every day. The aunts and uncles took turns chiming in. Simon's father said, we will repay the money. Just give us some time. Simon's mother added, yes, yes. Look at our Simon, he's so sick but can't even afford hospitalization. Can't you take pity on us? Pa. Pity you? Who's going to pity us then? We're not wealthy families either. Who knows if your Simon will even recover? What if he passes away? Can the two of you even repay the debt then? Right, if Simon's gone, who's gonna pay us back? If there's really no money, this house looks like it's worth something, sell it to us to settle the debt. Simon's parents cried, you took the house, where are we supposed to live now? We'll be left homeless on the streets. After much persuasion and for the sake of family ties, they reluctantly agreed to give 2 more weeks to raise the money, otherwise, the house would be seized to settle the debt. The angry crowd finally left in a huff. In the previous life, when Simon was sick, they never stayed up overnight or cooked, they just came to visit and chat during the day. His mother would go to play cards on time, and everything was left for me to do. It's always me who spends the money, does the work, and takes care of him. Does Simon even deserve it? Simon, lying in bed after hearing the relatives demand repayment, Mom, Dad, maybe we should sell our current house first to pay for my hospital treatment. The pain has been unbearable these past few days. Once I recover, repaying them is just a matter of time. Simon's father looked disapproving at the idea of selling the house. Simon, where would we live if we sold it? Your mother and I have lived there our whole lives. Are we supposed to be homeless in our old age? If you hadn't cheated and been caught by Nora, you wouldn't be in this state. If you hadn't claimed Nora had a $500,000 dowry to pay off the mortgage, we wouldn't have borrowed so much from relatives. You're already like this, who knows if you can even be cured. If the treatment fails, we'll have no one to support us in our old age, and now you want to spend all our retirement savings too. Simon turned red with embarrassment, hanging his head in shame. In the end, Simon's mother suggested borrowing money from me. Who would have thought I'd run into them while taking my parents for a checkup? Just my luck. Simon's mother greeted me with exaggerated warmth. Nora, you're at the hospital too? Is something wrong with your parents? Auntie, I'm just here for my parents' routine checkup. Nothing's wrong. I nearly rolled my eyes. How badly did she want my parents to be sick? Simon's mom was still expecting me to ask her in return, but I bluntly said, Auntie, I need to go get my documents first. You go ahead with your business. As I was about to leave, Simon's mom grabbed my leg and suddenly knelt on the ground. Nora, I know Simon wronged you, but he's being punished now. Could you lend us some money, for old time's sake? Auntie, please get up. Let's talk properly, people are staring. Nora, Simon has cancer now. We've spent all our money. For the sake of us almost becoming family, please help us. I looked at the growing crowd gathering around, with more people starting to film videos. Simon's mother wore an expression of utter despair, her tone carrying a veiled threat. Please, save him. If you promise me, I'll get up. Auntie, what can you possibly do to me if I refuse? Since she didn't care about saving face and wanted to make a scene, why should I stop her? Come and see, everyone. This woman is fickle, she broke up with my son just because he got sick. Simon's mother lay on the ground crying while she spoke, and the crowd kept growing. The murmurs around us intensified. Furious, I blurted out everything Simon had done. Do you think Simon deserves my money for his treatment? Do you know how vicious their family is? They secretly bought a house behind my back, then planned to use my dowry to pay off their debts. The deed was under his parents' names, yet I paid without getting a cent back. His son even fooled around with women, bringing them home to spend the night. Now that mistress got pregnant, but when she heard he had cancer, she aborted the child and ran away. I'm cruel? Meeting your family was my misfortune. Luckily, I cut my losses in time, otherwise, your family would have sucked me dry. Don't you still have another property? If you want to save your son, sell the house. But you can't bear to part with it. TSK. The onlookers spat in disgust, shameless old hag, still trying to shift the blame. Girl, you did the right thing. Yes, if I had a daughter, I'd want her to stay far away from people like him. People like him deserve to be sick. All they know is how to ruin others. In the end, I left the hospital surrounded by everyone's sympathy and encouragement. And because of Simon's mother's outburst, everyone in the hospital now knew exactly what kind of person Simon was. Some patients who couldn't stand him took matters into their own hands. When Simon went to the bathroom, they dumped the trash bin's contents over his head, then barricaded the door, locking him inside so he couldn't get out. Simon's parents had to frantically ask around before finally rescuing him from the bathroom. The looks on their faces said it all, disdain, and the unspoken verdict, he had it coming. The video was also posted online, with most comments condemning the scumbag, saying his illness served him right, while others supported me. Even heaven couldn't stand it and decided to take him away. During this period, Simon couldn't endure the cyberbullying, and his condition worsened. Because of his debts, his house was seized by relatives, forcing his family of 3 to live under a bridge. Simon's parents went to H Real Estate to protest over the unfinished property, but instead of getting their money back, they were thrown out by security and injured their backs. Without money for timely treatment, they became paralyzed after lying in bed for some time. Unable to bear the pain of cancer, Simon took a bottle of sleeping pills, ending his short life. His parents eventually starved to death. Meanwhile, Henry and I have been spending more and more time together due to work projects, and our relationship has grown increasingly close. Meeting his parents happened quite by chance. While shopping at the mall, I came out of the dressing room and saw Henry talking to an extremely elegant woman. Mom, this is my girlfriend Nora. She's also the daughter of my former teacher. Hello, Auntie. I am Nora. My clothes fell to the floor as I stuttered nervously. Hello Nora, nice to meet you. Don't be nervous, I don't bite. Feel free to visit us more often when you're free. I nodded as Henry's mother said she had something to attend to and left. During that period, I met all of Henry's friends and family members. My thinking was, since I'd just gotten rid of a scumbag, I should take my time understanding everything properly before entering another relationship. But plans often go awry. When he was walking me home, my father took a bad fall at the stairwell. Henry helped me rush him to the hospital, then contacted the director to arrange surgery for my dad. You must be terrified? I've already spoken with the hospital administration. Don't worry, your father will be just fine. He held my hand tightly, his grip firm, while my heart was in turmoil. I nodded and whispered, "Thank you." Inside the hospital room, my father looked at me, puzzled. I smiled and said, "Don't recognize him, do you? This is Henry, your former student, and also my new boyfriend." "Ah, Henry. Truly, boys change beyond recognition as they grow. You've worked hard this time. Once I'm discharged, have Nora bring you home for a meal." My father gave Henry an approving nod. Henry glanced at me with a faint smile, composed as ever. "Of course, I'll definitely go." We naturally met each other's parents, and both sides were very satisfied, starting to discuss the wedding date. It was only after being with Henry that I realized. Someone who loves you can't help but treat you well, willingly makes sacrifices for you, fully tolerates your flaws and shortcomings, and knows how to appreciate your shining qualities. Someone who loves you tries every possible way to fulfill all your wishes, is willing to dedicate significant time and effort for you, and gives you more beauty and tenderness. We should love ourselves first, then love others. At the same time,